Thank you for watching this course on Certified Ethical Hacker version 9, brought to you by INE. We're now starting with Module 5, which is System Hacking. Alright, this is the introductory video for the System Hacking module. And so we're going to learn about where system hacking is in the hacking lifecycle, and we're going to have an overview of the upcoming topics. Alright, so the system hacking phase is where you actually start working with the full array of information you have obtained from the previous investigative phases of the hacking lifecycle, and you use that to consolidate access to the target network that you are hacking. So actually this entails gaining unauthorized access to actual devices on the network, getting the necessary privileges to maintain your presence, to install applications, and then of course being able to clear your tracks. So system hacking is just how it sounds. You're owning the target systems and effectively doing what you need to do on the target network. So what you have at this point, from phase 1, which was footprinting, you might have obtained employee information, phone numbers, location, geolocation, information about the facilities, perhaps even very detailed information about some physical security flaws that you can exploit. Eventually, technologies that they are using, remember we can learn that via job sites, for example, via banner grabbing and some other techniques. Personal information of key people that you have investigated. Remember we spoke about how you can identify key people within an organization and use the internet to start learning personal details about their lives that you can later use. And truth be told, that later is actually right now at this point in system hacking. So you will observe that as of this module, things start to get less, let's say, less organized by phases, because now we're dealing with hacking, and then we're gonna see what techniques enable us to hack different technologies and other stuff. So you have footprinting, you have scanning, you have enumeration, you have hacking, and as I said, from this module onwards, you're going to see different techniques, technologies, and modules that enable you to hack different platforms and just broaden your capacity to hack. So it all revolves around this point. So again, from phase 1, you got IP blocks, possibly you got namespaces, you got a lot of information. From phase 2, you got port scans, open ports and services being used. You might have already knowledge of security devices in the network if you have been able to spot a stateful firewall, for example. You might have some network topology knowledge you might have gathered. You have knowledge of live systems. You have obtained operating system information via OS fingerprinting. And you might also have some vulnerability information on certain systems in the target company. And then from phase 3, you more than likely will have some usernames, network share information, information on the organization structure, on devices, on passwords even, if you were very lucky at this phase, and then services information, protocols information, all the good stuff we've been looking at in our previous modules. So what's the idea? The idea is that these large investigative process that you've gone through so far is going to be a platform for you to hack more easily, all right? In the sense that, well, hacking is not easy, but if you have no information, if you hadn't take your time to gather information, it might result even impossible. So this information, again, I could not stress more the importance of the previous phases, and if you have not watched those videos, I would encourage you to do so, because that is your foundation for the things that are to come as of this module. So what you're aiming for in this phase, the key thing is you're aiming to gain access It might start with access to one system, and then you can expand that access to other devices in a network. You are aiming to escalate privileges, so perhaps your first access is not the ideal level of access, and more than likely that will be the case. Perhaps you start accessing an account which is not as carefully guarded as a root or administrative account, but then you can use that account to escalate privileges. That's part of the idea. When you have enough privileges, you can start executing applications, and executing applications is part of consolidating your presence in that network. You don't want to go through the hard work of penetrating a network and gaining access and even escalating privileges to just then say, well, hopefully I will be able to do it again later when I want to do more damage or more stealing or more, whatever the hacking purpose of the pen test is, right? So executing applications is a way that you ensure your presence there. You install malicious software that gives you a backdoor to then enter whenever you want to do your stuff in that network. Then hiding files, it's a different part of this module. This helps you hide even software in files that seem innocent, or hiding your strategy, for example, or hiding special key information in a way that it can't be retrieved easily by others. So, and finally, we will learn how to cover tracks, which is pretty much clearing auditing information, clearing log information that might be traced back to us. So we need to make sure that when we do what we need to do, no unnecessary tracks are left behind. So let's talk about each one of these briefly. Gaining access, it's going to be focused pretty much on password cracking. All right. So the first part of this course is going to focus a lot on passwords. All right. There are different ways to crack passwords, to obtain passwords, and there's even the possibility of resetting the password of a system without needing to crack any password. So we can put a password that we like. It's difficult though because it requires physical access. But gaining access is pretty much about compromising the security of passwords because that's the first level of protection. Escalating privilege is going to come next once you've managed to crack a password open, once you've managed to log in to a particular account. Chances are, as I said before, that's not an account with enough privileges for what you need to do, and so you need to start making your way up and trying to get more privileges that allow you to install the applications you need to install to remain in the system. And that's the next part. The next part is to execute applications. We need to know what applications or what type of applications we can install on a target system that'll help us maintain a presence there and enter that system later on to continue our activity. Then hiding files. As I said before, there are different ways to hide files. We're going to look at steganography, for example. We're going to look at NTFS alternate data streams, which is a feature of Microsoft Windows which can be misused in many levels. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to be learning how to cover our tracks, because really we don't want to be traced. And even when we're doing ethical hacking and we're doing these things with the previous agreement of a client, it is professional to clear your tracks. The idea is that you can demonstrate to your client the flaws in their security operations, and you need to do this as perfect as possible, as a hacker who's fearing for their freedom would. Alright, I hope this small overview helps ignite the enthusiasm for this particular module and for the modules to come. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And thank you so much for watching. I'm sure this is going to be of benefit for your security career.